Story 36. Where is Jesus? The little town of Nazareth was buzzing with excitement. They were getting ready for a visit to God's temple in Jerusalem. The fathers were busy with the packing, the mothers were busy with the food, and the children were everywhere. Jesus was going for the very first time. He was 12 years old. When they got there, the city was crowded. Its narrow streets were packed with people, all going to God's temple. There was a wall all around the temple with big gates, like a castle. Inside was a big open square and more walls. Joseph and Jesus crossed the square. In the shade by the walls, the teachers sat. They were telling people about God and how to please him. They were answering questions. Jesus wanted to stop and listen, but Joseph hurried on. That night, the family had a special meal. They told the story that everyone loved, how God had helped his people to escape from Egypt long, long ago. Then it was time to go home. The fathers were busy with the packing, the mothers were busy with the food, and the children were everywhere. No one noticed that Jesus was missing until bedtime. Jesus was lost. No one had seen him all day. Mary and Joseph hardly slept. They were so worried. As soon as it was light, they went back to Jerusalem, looking and looking for Jesus. At last they came to the temple. And there he was, safe and sound, with the teachers, listening and asking questions. "Jesus!" Mary cried. "We've been looking for you everywhere. We've been so worried." Jesus looked surprised. He wasn't being naughty. He'd never did bad things. "Surely you knew I'd be here. The temple is my Father's house," he said. Jesus knew that God was his Father. Then he got up at once and went with them. Story 37. Down by the river. There was a big crowd down by the Jordan River. What was happening? Something exciting? The children wriggled to the front to see, but all they saw was a man talking. A very strange man. He wore thick, hairy clothes with a belt around his middle. "That's John," one of the grown-ups said. "Zachariah and Elizabeth's boy. He's come from the desert. He lives there now. It's a lonely, scary place, and there's not much food. He eats locusts and honey from wild bees." John was speaking loud and fierce. Make way for God's promised king. He is coming soon, so get ready." "What must we do?" "You must stop being greedy," John said, "and share. Stop doing bad things. God has told us the best ways to live, so do as he says. Then you'll be ready for the king." The grown-ups all looked ashamed. "We have been greedy and done bad things, but we're sorry, really, truly sorry." "Then follow me," John said, and he walked right into the river. One by one, the people followed him into the water. They wanted to get rid of all the bad things they had done. "God knows that you are really sorry," John said. "He has forgiven you and washed you clean inside and out. Go home now and live as God wants. Then you'll be ready for God's king." At last, everyone had been into the water. But who was this coming? It was Jesus. He stepped into the water. "You've done nothing wrong," John said to him. "You should be washing me." But Jesus said, we must do all that God wants us to do. As Jesus came out of the river, John heard God say, "This is my Son. I love him, and I am pleased with him." Story 38. 12 Special Friends. Do you know what Jesus is saying? Come and hear. Do you know what Jesus is doing? Come and see. God had given Jesus special work to do. Everyone came to hear what Jesus was saying. Everyone came to see what Jesus was doing. They brought people who were ill, and Jesus made them well again. Good news, Jesus said. God has sent me to bring good news. Good news for those who are poor. Good news for those who have been taken prisoner. They will be set free. Good news for those who cannot see. Soon their eyes will be opened. The time has come for God to rescue his people and make them safe. Jesus stood on the beach by the lake. Lake Galilee was so big it was like the sea. He watched the fishermen cleaning their nets. Come with me and catch bigger fish, Jesus called to Peter and Andrew. Come with me and catch bigger fish, he called to James and John. Jesus didn't mean the fish in the lake. He meant people. He wanted Peter and Andrew, James and John to help him tell everyone God's good news. They were the first 4 special friends of Jesus. Matthew was sitting at a table, counting his money. He was a taxman. Pay up, he said. The emperor wants his tax. All the nice people thought Matthew was bad. He helped the emperor and he helped himself. They would not be friends with him. But Jesus wanted Matthew to be one of his special friends. Come with me, he said, and Matthew left his money and came. Matthew gave a party for Jesus at his house. All the nice people grumbled. Jesus is good. How can he be friends with bad people? But Jesus said, they need me. I've come to help the people who need me, not those who think they are good already. Jesus had 5 special friends: Peter and Andrew, James and John, and now Matthew. But that still wasn't enough. He talked to God about it, and then he chose 7 more: Thomas and Philip and Bartholomew, Thaddeus and another James, Simon and Judas. That made 12 special friends. Jesus and his 12 special friends went to all the towns and villages, telling everyone God's good news. Mary, Joanna, Susanna, and some others took care of Jesus and his special friends, all helping to tell God's good news.